All right, guys, bow I've been waiting a long time to get my hands on. The Elite Omnia. It's time to do our bow test on it, so look forward to our foot per second with 6 different arrow weights coming in at 30 down to 27 inches of draw, and we'll be shooting at 70 pounds and 60 pounds, putting it right through the paces. I've shot a few now at 30. It's feeling pretty sweet, and I think the speeds might be real. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this one. So the bow is set at 29 inches, and right now as it stands, the back wall is good. I did have a little bit of creep on me on one of the lengths. Ooh, and that letdown is pretty crazy. See how fast that wants to take off? Everything's falling apart on me. I'm going to keep it. So 70.2 is 7.9 pounds of holding weight. The bow is set on max let off, so we're right around our 90%. Pretty reasonable. All right, so as far as that letdown goes, let me use my actual release to get a better feeling of it. And again, I won't give you a creep score yet. I did have it creep on me a little bit on one of my shots, but it was at 30 inches. So totally not, a little long for me. But so here's 29 inch, 70 pound draw. It does come back in there. It didn't at 30 so much, but I think it's because when I'm at 30 inches, the draw is just so long for me that it just feels different. As I pull into the back wall and stuff, it's just totally different. But so very comfortable string angle for me. I'm pretty happy with that. So it does feel good. Like takes a little bit to let it down, but I will say you can gauge when it's going to come down. So for 90% let off, it's definitely, that valley is smaller and where it goes into the back wall is firm, but you can let it down if you're paying attention. Whereas like the PSEs with the E2 cams so far that I've tested, they definitely don't like being let down, but so far they do have the firmest back wall. So this bow is like a really happy medium, I would say. Actually, it feels nice, and again, it doesn't want to take your shoulder off, but if I start letting it down, I can feel when it's going to go. It's just so in a hunting environment, I do really enjoy that that back wall being really solid. I don't know if everyone does. I think there's people out there that really do like that holding weight, so that's something to think about, but it's adjustable. You can change your let off and tailor it to however you'd like. But if you're looking for that big let off that lets you really move around and settle into your shot and not have to pay attention to that strain you're putting on your body or on the string, then this bow can offer that without a doubt. Feels great. So we'll do one more here. So letdown score, I'm going to give it, I think I'll give it an 8. It's definitely better than the other 90% mods. I'm sure we'll lose a point or two for creep just because of that. Of course, they kind of go hand in hand, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn around. There was no issues there, and we're just going to take this shot. 264 feet per second there. My last shot was a 268 with that arrow, so we'll shoot another one and see where we're sitting there. But that was the 587 grain arrow at 70 pounds and 29 inch draw. So I'm going to say we're shooting around 266 feet per second, but we'll see what this next arrow does. So stay tuned. We'll come right up with the foot per second charts and kinetic energy charts. Just finished shooting all my 70-pound shots with the Elite Omnia. Definitely a very, very fast bow. It might even be the fastest bow I've had in here yet. I think it's faster than the PSE Omen, but I'm going to have to confirm that in the results for the final tally there. But I will say this bow is stiff to pull back. My arm is pretty sore. As you can hear, I'm a little bit sick right now, but after shooting a couple hundred shots through it, I mean, I am feeling more fatigued with this bow than with any other bow, but I'm also getting the fastest speeds out of it, so that's to be expected in my opinion. I look forward to doing the heads up and figuring out what the 270 foot per second rating is. Pretty impressive for Elite. I think right now this is my favorite aluminum bow to date. It does not dethrone the Levitate for me, and the Elite era specs aren't quite what I want in a bow. So that one I'm not really super keen on shooting myself, and I haven't had anyone request one yet. So it's close. There's a lot of people really hum and hawing about that bow, but for now, this thing is definitely my top contender for 2023 aluminum bow. It's just sweet. All right, I'm gonna get back to shooting, do all my 60-pound shots now, then pop this thing off and we'll do those stability shots. Stay tuned. So if you're in the market for a speed bow, definitely give the Elite Omnia a try. It's phenomenal. It put a smile on my face right away as soon as I shot it. It just felt great. So if draw is not a concern for you and that stiffness isn't a concern, which I mean it can be, but again, this bow at 57 pounds, I would say just a hair under 57 pounds shoots that 460 grain arrow at our 270 foot per second goal. So it ties the Omen for speed performance, and I think it's rated almost 10 feet per second slower. So this is a bow you're going to want to get down and check out, the Elite Omnia. All right, just got finished up with the Mantis X8 for the stability test. This thing did really well in the stability test, especially considering how that draw cycle is. Like, it's stiff. Now, I don't know if it just feels stiffer than the PSEs because I've been shooting the Levitate for a year, so I'm really used to the draw cycle. But something about this near the back wall, it doesn't dump into the valley so much, or into the back wall so much, but it definitely, there's something back there that's just really resists. And I will say that at 30 inches, this bow felt the worst. 29, it's okay. 28, it's a 27. It seemed better. I myself would be shooting this at 29. And I feel like I'd probably just bump down to 28 and change my D-loop length or something if I can get it, because the string angle is pretty good. So I think I could accomplish that on this bow, just to change the feel of that draw a little bit. The other thing I want to point out is the vibration on this bow out of box isn't bad, but it's because of this. I took this off so I could do the stability test, and this bow felt completely different. Now, I do have some concerns with it. The limbs, the paint is cracking. It's not like, it doesn't seem like it's coming apart, but I would question how long that's going to look nice for. And I have seen a few things about the limbs given some grief. Not that Elite won't deal with that and take care of it for sure, but cracking in the paint and the limbs is a little bit weird to me. Same reason I didn't buy a carbon bow back in 2010 when Hoyt was making just the coolest things, I thought. So the other thing I'll say is this rubber on these strings doesn't stay put. It moves around. A little dab of glue or something. For the price of the bow, that should all be taken care of for you, I believe. Although a lot of people probably just take these strings off and replace them. But I've been shooting OEM strings, and I've been having a pretty good run with them lately, the last year and a bit. So I don't see any point in taking them off right out of the gate. Lots of people like to do it. Customization for sure. Or if you just don't want to go through a break-in period, or you got a brand that you really like and love and trust, that's fine. But so my other concern with the bow, to be super honest, is all of these screws. Now, I know everyone's talking about how great it is to be able to tune your bow by loosening and tightening a screw, and that's great. However, for myself, I don't like it. I'm probably one of the only ones on the internet that's going to say that they don't like that for some reason, but it's not something you always have to mess with. Like micro adjustments on your sight or on your rest or your rest, they're great because you can make those fine changes and then lock it in. But it's really hard to make those fine changes, especially like sight. If you're always hitting right, if you're on the 3D course and you want to give it a click or two, and you're in a competition, you can't just take a few shots to make sure that's where you want it to be. So having the micro adjust makes a big difference there. because you can dial it in on the fly, because you would on the fly, right? The rest you wouldn't so much, but maybe if you're switching from field points to broadheads or you're bare shaft tuning and you just want to have that ease of the final tuning take place on your rest, whether it's just that micro click over and then it's locked in, it's done. The rest I don't feel is as critical, because you're not usually doing that like in a competition setting. You're not going to go and micro adjust your rest over to compensate for something, but you will do that during the tuning process. So for me, if my bow is out of tune, I'm tuning it in the shop. And as soon as it's tuned, I want as few components that can move as possible so that it stays there and I have full confidence that it's just going to stay there. The only reason I'm nervous of this, I hunt where it's cold, right? Like if you saw my video with the Levitate year-end review, the UV3 was great all year. It didn't give me any grief. But then when it got cold outside, it changed so much that I lost the bubble out of the sight, even though all the screws were tight before I left. And every time I went out below 0, -5 degrees, everything would loosen up. So it would rattle around. It's because it's got those inserts, and then it's got these little set screws that go in there. And the set screws are tight when I'm inside. When I get outside into stand, they're now loose, but I can't crank them down anymore, otherwise I'm going to damage them, right? So I don't think that this is going to react to the same degree by any means. But if you are out there and you've got all these different screws holding everything together, you have the potential, a higher potential of things moving around out there. Now, that's not to say that like the EZ220 clips won't move around a little bit in there when it's -40 outside or whatever. I'm sure everything's got its downfall, but just something to think about with this quick adjustment stuff. The other thing I'll note is that these strings are rubbing on the cams at full draw. It's not there's no signs of wear, but that's something that goes against my OCD limits. I definitely would have to fix that and move it over. And I wouldn't fix it by tilting the limbs, I don't think. We'll see when I paper tune. And we'll just have to wait and see. But I know there's a lot of people on the Facebook groups and on YouTube that have got some good write-ups about paper tuning these guys with no ill effects. And good clearance on that string, just fine. You have to move your power shot over. You got to move it over. I know a lot of people are really stuck on that 13/16, which is totally fine. You can be stuck on that all you want, but for myself, I'd rather have a super straight cam, visually straight, so that when I'm out in the field, I can check it quickly. I do really like having center shot, so I can just do a quick visual to make sure my arrow's running down my limb bolts. So I will definitely try to attain a tune by having everything visually centered. And just so that way when you're out in the field, if you drop your bow or anything like that, you can have a quick look and just see if anything moved. I think that's it. So again, it is a stiff draw. This thing is probably the stiffest draw out of all the bows I've shot so far this year. But it's also the fastest, for sure, at the higher end anyways. It'll be interesting to see it up against the Omen specs that I have recorded already. But so I would definitely recommend shooting this bow, especially if you're 29-inch and under draw length. You might really like it at 30. It's hard to tell because that's a little bit longer than my draw is, so it's not really in my comfort zone. But the Omen at 30 inches, I think it was at 30 inches. It might have been at 31 inches. It was like drawing a whole different bow. It was really actually quite pleasing to draw. So guys, I really appreciate you coming by and checking out my channel and giving me all the support that you've been giving me. If there's anything you'd like to see me do differently in the future on future videos, please just post it in the comments below. So there you have it, the Elite Omnia. Again, keep in mind, I am sick, so that draw is what it is, and I have been shooting the PSEs for the last year. So ultimately, I'm really comfortable with that draw cycle. I would say that I don't really pay too much attention to draw cycles after a couple of hundred arrows, but going back and forth through the draw lengths, I did notice a difference at that 30-inch draw, even the 29-inch draw versus the other ones that I was testing, the 27 and 28. So overall, man, that thing is a fast bow. It feels really solid in your hands. It's a great, great performing bow. I'm sure it's going to be one of the best selling bows out there this year for 2023. So thank you guys so much for staying tuned, and we'll see you on the next one.